Hello, hello, hello. It is me, your True Hill Phenom SP3. We are back once again with Season 2 Dark Side of the Ring review for the final days of Owen Hart. I am back once again with the princess of all the True Heels herself, Miss Chrissy Love.
Hello, 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 everybody.
And we have some special guests with us this time since this is the season 2 finale documenting the tragic death of Owen Hart. We had to bring in an all-star cast. We had to get an all-star roundtable. So we got the other co-host of True Hill Heat, Mr. Titan Nation himself, the resident True Hill alcoholic, Top Guy JJ.
Woo! Bah, 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 bah.
To my heels, absolutely.
And we have co-host of True Rewind, the connoisseur of all reporting, Mr. Romeo Anthony Cologne.
Bah,
He's
bah,
not the
bah,
only alcoholic.
bah. Woo!
And
So we got
great job on that the last ride, man. I just really wanted to say that. Yeah, killing it on the last ride.
Thank you. We appreciate it. So we had to bring in everyone in for this was a big episode, season 2 finale, the final days of Owen Hart. So before we get into this Dark Side of the Ring season 2 finale review for the final days of Owen Hart, I want to remind you guys to push that like button below. We want to attack the like button and make sure this is the most liked video of all our Dark Side of the Ring reviews, and push the icon down at the bottom to say subscribe for more True Hill Heat. Miss Chrissy Love, I always kick it over to you to start these reviews. What was your one word to kind of your thoughts on this documentary?
Chills. I got chills from this whole documentary. Sad, but necessary. It needed to be said. It needed to be put out there, and this is what we've been waiting to hear. We knew bits and pieces, but we got mostly the whole story of what happened. So I say my word is chills.
How about you, Romeo?
It hurt, man. It hurt. It was tough to watch. I'm glad Martha and her family got this platform to tell their story, their version of events.
Yes. Yep.
And you, JJ?
Probably the most uncomfortable revisit of my wrestling life. Watching this was on my mom's birthday. We with the family, and the most shocking day I have ever seen watching wrestling. I've never seen anything like that in my life, and probably no one has ever. The reason to remember.
Honestly, I would love to say that this episode was great, but
Right.
this event was so tragic. There's not really a lot of words that can quantify the feeling, to relive this. And for me, I was only 11 years old when it happened, but I remember it like it was yesterday. I remember vividly JR having to scramble to kind of fill time during that event, which we'll talk about. So they talk about in the beginning the career of Owen Hart and how he was basically talking about from the Hart family and how the Hart family were the Sopranos of professional wrestling. All this dynasty, this legacy of the Hart family with Bret the Hitman Hart, as well as all the sons, Bruce, that were all very talented in their own right, as well as the son-in-laws like Jim the Anvil Neidhart and British Bulldog. And then they talk about Owen, who didn't really want to get into wrestling and kind of it was the family tradition, the family business, and it was something that he initially just caught on to. They always talk about guys like Kurt Angle or Brock Lesnar or Ronda Rousey, who just came into professional wrestling and kind of got it like that. Owen was the predecessor to them all. So how did you guys feel about all the nice footage of Owen's early career and seeing how talented he was from the very beginning?
Very necessary and very good to see. But again, something that just seems oh, we have to relive this, these moments and see this face that he had his hair, everything about him, you just was like, wow, like you just got to relive and see what, they have been missing for all these years.
I love Jericho talking about how he wanted to be just like Owen Hart, and you saw that drawing that he had, terrible drawing, obviously.
Right.
And his tag team partners, and that was cool.
So they talk about Owen as the Blue Blazer being introduced into the WWF after his run in Canadian Stampede and Calgary Stampede wrestling, and basically like Chris Jericho, going back to him once again, talks about like, he didn't know who he was at first, but he knew like the tights were from like a Stampede wrestler, but then he saw the backflip bump from Owen, and he was like, that's Owen. That's Owen. So you gotta love that the style of Owen was recognizable even to like fans like Chris Jericho watching it back in the day. Mm-hmm. So they talk about his career kind of like really taking off from like the ground up from basically through his feud with Bret the Hitman Hart. But before that, we are introduced to, of course, the star of this whole documentary, the very candid interview that we got with Dr. Martha Hart. So I'll take it over to JJ first. What was your thoughts on like Martha, like from beginning to end, like showing like how much strength that she showed throughout this entire documentary and talking about Owen so openly?
It's we have been seeing the evolution and the growth of women so much that we've been saying how strong. This is the strongest person I've seen. This is the strongest person I've seen. Like, we feel like we say that over and over, and it just doesn't feel like it's anything different with her. The strength that she displayed during during this whole process, and just how she kind of streamlined and predicted like what she thought her thought process was from the start to the middle to what she was going to do to what she foresaw. It was like, this woman is incredible. And the fact that they were perfect for each other. Like, I just, that you just wish you could have seen play out in real life. Like, this show was not to entertain you. This show was really just to give you factual evidence and just to see how it sounds, because she's an incredible woman. He was an incredible man. And this is something that you just wish you saw play out much, much longer.
So we're also introduced to Owen's son, Owen Hart, who is a lawyer, very, very well-spoken young man who kind of like opens up about like him seeing the love of his parents from, the son point of view, and just being amazed by the love that his mom showed his father and his father showed his mom. And basically the family kind of talked about how Owen wanted that life after wrestling. That like he was working so hard, he would work 250 days a year to kind of like make it possible for them to like live a very great life. And the life that they continue to live is due to the hard work that he provided to them. So they talk about the feud between Owen and Bret Hart. I love Jim Ross kind of talking about how like if there's like the type of match that you show to like a non-wrestling fan, it would be Bret the Hitman Hart versus Owen Hart. You had two brothers from Calgary coming to the world's most famous arena, MSG, at WrestleMania 10, and having a classic that stole the show. So Jim Ross, I have to say, he's another unsung hero of this whole like documentary, being so close to everything, which we'll talk about on that fateful day. So they kind of talk, and also when he talks about basically what happened to Owen as it became the Attitude Era. Another person that added to that is, of course, our wrestling historian, a gentleman that has won LVP and MVP from myself or Miss Chrissy Love throughout season 2 of Dark Side of the Ring, Mr. Jim Cornette. So, Miss Chrissy, how do you feel about your hillbilly uncle from Kentucky?
Oh my God, yes, he did. He was seeing him like almost like break down, like gave me again my word was chills, and I was like, wow, like to hear him talk about the dynasty of the Hart family, and with all the boys and then the girls marrying to wrestlers, a whole thing, just breaking down everything, giving his point of view of like what happened and what was being done with his character and his evolution as they went on till that day.
How about you, JJ?
Oh man, Cornette is special, man. He's a special wrestler. He's what the wrestling world has needed over the course of 20 plus years.
Yeah.
Like there isn't a place that you can tap to in wrestling that he doesn't know. There isn't a generation that he doesn't know. There isn't a family that he doesn't know. There isn't a historic part of wrestling that he doesn't know. So basically, if you ever get to meet Jim Cornette, no matter how old you are, you will be. And that is a gem. It's a gem that we have in wrestling, and we're grateful to have him, honestly, even though we shit on him and we crack jokes on him a lot.
Right.
Gem for wrestling.
So Jim adds a lot talking about how the WWE transitioned from a kind of like cartoonish era to more like sports entertainment with the Attitude Era, and Owen Hart being very like one of the best wrestlers. They really didn't have like a place for him because he couldn't play a character. They proposed proposed the affair with Deborah McMichaels, and he wouldn't do it. So then they reintroduced the Blue Blazer character, putting one of their best wrestlers under a mask, under like a cartoonish figure. Being the strong WWE mark that you were at the time, especially Romeo, how is it to like kind of relive this time, hearing someone that was involved on the inside of the WWE, like Jim Ross, kind of being disgusted at the fact that creative couldn't find anything for Owen Hart?
Imagine having Owen Hart. You saw how great he was with the Bret Hart WrestleMania 10. You saw how great he was at being the, slimy little heel, being the annoyed little brother, and saying, you know what? You're not entertaining. We need to make you more entertaining. Put this mask on, be a fake superhero, and now you're entertaining. Like, what? No. Keep Owen Hart the way he was. I mean, obviously he did the best he could with the Blue Blazer. That's just because he's Owen Hart. He's that damn good.
Right.
But just awful.
He had no business being in that outfit. I'm sorry.
Well, it's just very disappointing that even in a time where WWE had its biggest heights in the Attitude Era, they could still have like cracks in the company, basically in the creative system there.
For him to job to the Godfather that night, well, supposedly.
We wouldn't know what would happen on that night because basically WWE decides just a couple of days before, as we get the account from Martha, that they are gonna have this entrance for the Blue Blazer. A couple of months prior, they had basically a stunt where he came from the top of the building wearing a hatch, a latched up, and like a very suitable harness. Basically came down to the ring. He couldn't unhook the harness. It was like a comedy bit, and they wanted to relive that with the entrance at Over the Edge as he versed the Godfather on May 23rd, 1999. He was just there, but apparently the WWE person from WWE wanted him back, called Martha to basically get his measurements to find out how to rig him up basically properly. She basically asked him, like, you just had him. Why are you like calling him?
Right.
Oh, because we just decided this. So basically they just decided. Owen gets there on the day of May 23rd. They ask him, like, do you want to do it? He's like, no, I'm used to it. But basically, they tell him that it's a new ridge that they're using for this. They want to do like a quick release, and they basically practice it. And apparently, even Owen backstage to Jim Ross, who tells his account of the day, says that you could tell that Owen was very nervous about this, and this was something that he didn't seem like he wanted to do. So, Chrissy, what was your thoughts on like finding that out and like learning about the doubts that Owen had before this whole stunt?
The fact that, one, he wasn't even supposed to be scheduled to be at this event, and then like days before he's now scheduled to be there, so he's technically supposed to be off. One. Two, hearing Jim Ross say, hey, and knowing that he's afraid of heights. Knowing a person that's afraid of heights, you would put them to this thing, and him being the provider, being the person that's trying to, do the right thing, do his job, and perform for people and do what he likes to do, which is wrestle. He's like, sure, I'll just do it. He doesn't want to do it. And then like the eerie feeling of like him being afraid of doing it and not being like really like that right there should have just like, maybe we don't need him to like come down and copy Sting. Of all people you want to copy a Sting. He's not even as popular as Sting. of the Blue Blazer? Why would you want him to like?
They were trying to make fun of Sting
Yeah,
by like having Owen.
They're basically trying to spoof Sting, who they used that in a main event angle to build up for an 18-month big time main event at their biggest event ever, and WWE wanted to spoof it on a B pay-per-view in the second match with the comedy character in their eyes.
Not cool at all. I'm sorry.
It's just inexcusable, but it's gonna get worse as we learn other information. So,
do we know how many times Owen did the harness thing?
I think once.
He did it once before that with what they showed with Steve Blackman. They had like a little stunt. I believe it was on a Sunday Night Heat before a pay-per-view, and then this was supposed to be like the second time where he actually did like an entrance with it. So they wanted like a quick release. WCW, from all the accounts that I've heard doing my like research on this, WCW never used like this type of like crisp release. They always use like a proper like double latch. And it was always noticeable because the guys from the NWO would have to stand there like idiots waiting for Sting to unhook them.
Because WCW knew that, and the world knows that men can't really fly.
Pretty much.
Even when Shawn came from the thing, that he still had to get unhooked off himself because he had the same type of damn harness on.
Entertainment, but we know they're not X-Men.
Right.
Same thing. So on the day, Jim Ross tells his account that he just felt a nudge from Jerry the King Lawler. Jimmy Corderas is also on this documentary, and he tells his account that he was wiping off debris from the ring, and he was holding on to the top rope, and then all of a sudden he just felt like he heard like a scream. And then he felt like a flash at the back of his head, and then the rope bounced off and almost jammed his fingers. Jim Ross said that Jerry King Lawler basically nudged him, and he looked up, and he saw like a blur, and then he hit the ground. He said that he had to hear that he had to hit the ring post or the turnbuckle because the sound was like very, very disgusting. Like it's a sound that he has never heard in his life. They talk about Jim Cornette breaks down during this portion, kind of talking about it and recounting, talking about how Jim Ross had to like fill live television and kind of talk about everything. And then we get to Jim Ross's like account of it, which this honestly like it has to be the toughest moment of Jim Ross's entire career. And then tell about Kevin Dunn the update that Owen Hart has been announced dead, and he tells him that he's back in 10, 9, 8, 7. To know that he was just given that update just a few seconds before he had to deliver it to a live pay-per-view audience, that's just tough. Like, and then all the superstars having to witness their coworker, their peer, coming back to the backstage area looking like that. I think Godfather said when he saw him that he was blue, and it's just like you could tell it's like scarred all the people that kind of talk about their account of that night. They also have D'Lo Brown on this documentary who talks about like he wanted to be like Owen, and then to see him like that, like he broke down as well. They talk about Jeff, who was one of Owen Hart's best friends backstage, who had to do a promo right afterwards with tears in his eyes.
Tag team partner.
Yes, his tag team partner at the time as well. So it was just, I got chills kind of reliving that back and kind of witnessing that part of the documentary. How about you, Romeo?
This is the part of the episode where you definitely get the chills reliving this. I had a couple of notes about this. Cornette saying that Owen's last words were "Look out," looking out for the safety. Jimmy Corderas could have died right there. That also.
Yeah.
And then also when Owen falls, if you watch the tape over, and they put the camera on the crowd, but first when JR's giving that update, you see these dopes in the crowd. They're still waving for the camera. Wrestling fans, still scum of the earth, some of the worst people in the world. You just saw someone die, and you're, hey, the camera. Oh, it's just terrible.
Even in Owen's last moments, like he's going out a hero, like JR said. Like JR was pinpoint on with it. when he literally said in his last moments he's saving someone. So he's falling 80, 90 feet in the air, and he just has the awareness to tell somebody else to move out the way. Like, he was that kind of dude. And just to understand what just happened for the like Jim Ross, man, has been through some shit, man. Like, oh my, like, and for you don't know what's happening. Obviously, it's 1999. There's no media, there's no social media, so you're really seeing this on pay-per-view. You don't know what's going on. Like, they only got the spotlight on the crowd. Crowd is yo. There's a reason why I hate wrestling fans.
Yeah.
I'm like, they have the most somber in face. Their faces look so sour and they look so sad. You see people in the background trying to, hey, it's me, John. Like,
do you see me on TV? Look, Mom, hey.
Like, there's literally somebody you don't even know what the man looked like from a live perspective, seeing him 30 feet away from you. But just seeing Jim Ross, man, like he had to go through that. And they have a sponsor. They had a sponsor for the pay-per-view. So why couldn't the producers like Kevin Dunn just shoot a commercial to the sponsor to give Jim Ross enough time to at least prepare? Like a 30-second commercial. Like how are you going to put him on the spotlight and then give him 10 seconds to give the announcement? Like that is so shitty because none of them saw that live. None of them in the back saw that happen in front of their face. But then you have to give him the responsibility to make this announcement. Like that's embarrassing, man. I don't care what kind of what technology is this. There's still common sense. There's still common sense in this. It was just like all of it is just so horrifying, man. It is so horrifying to relive.
So they talk about the fateful moment where Martha got the phone call. It was from this cell phone that Owen uses on the road, and it was Vince McMahon. She thought it was Owen, just playing a game, but Vince McMahon tells her that, Owen had an accident. She starts asking a lot of questions, and he says that a doctor will give her a call to let her know. And then the doctor gives her a call, letting her know that he tried everything, but her husband, Owen, is dead. So, like, I know you as a wife and a mother had to feel for Martha. Miss Chrissy, how do you feel like Martha having to also, like, retell that story? You could tell that she got, like, emotional even having to retell that story. How did you feel about that?
The fact that, Vince called and he said something happened to Owen. Like, he couldn't even be, man enough to say anything. He was like, oh, someone's going to call you. Scumbag of all scumbags. We already knew he was a piece of shit, but now he's really a piece of shit. Even more piece of shit. But you didn't have the balls to even say to this wife, this mother, that something has happened to her husband is clearly a crazy accident. We already knew that. But you couldn't say anything. You waited till the doctor said something, and then the doctor said that they tried their best to save his life. Owen was gone before he even got there. I'm sure. Beyond JR said it. Jim Ross' face. King Jerry Lawler's face said it once he came back and sat down next to JR.
It's not looking good at all. Not looking good.
It was all. Everyone said when he got this to his face was blue. He was gone before he even left that arena. The impact alone probably did that. So for you not to say nothing, it's just sad, scumbag. For her to now have to tell that story and to hear the words from the doctor, crushing. Of course, and she's saying, oh no, what am I gonna do? Of course, that's what she's doing. She's panicking, and now she has to sit down and tell her children this thing. Of course, like the son said, they didn't sleep that night. She probably didn't sleep for days. But she did say that she was going to find out and she was going to figure it out and she was going to get what she needed to get done. So, bravo to her.
So they talk about the funeral on May 31st, 1999 in Calgary, and how there was like more than 1,000 people outside of the funeral home, more than that probably in attendance inside, well, as much as they could inside of capacity. and just her basically having that moment of clarity and kind of saying that she not only, wanted to have peace, but she wanted justice for Owen, because she something wasn't right, something went wrong on this night, and
What were her
everybody
words? Day of reckoning or something like that?
Yes,
Yes.
yes. She will have her day of reckoning. So this is a woman that was grieving, but knew that her grief, it wasn't just that type of like paranoia type of grief. It wasn't just her trying to look for someone to blame. It wasn't just an accident. Like that's what her main argument was. And
She said
what we
someone was negligent, and someone had to pay for that.
and
Bottom
and
line.
and we found out that she wanted to know firsthand. She wanted to deal with her face first. So she went to Kansas City, went to the arena, walked that catwalk that Owen Hart walked above the arena, seeing
Brought
down
her children to do
with
all of that.
with
What?
her children, so her children wouldn't be able to live their life and wondering what if they like, I wonder what happened, to not like be able to face it. Always talks about like that made him how he is so strong today. So to kind of see like how far that was, and like I just give it up for her, like like that.
There was no way. She said that night she saw two paths. She can either go to destruction, or she can go down the path where she can reconstruct and do things. She had an out of body experience where she's like, I have to go on and do things now to take care of my children. I have to now be what all moms are, she has to be a superwoman and now take on this thing and figure out what happened, and to take your children up there. First of all, there's no way I could have ever gone up there. That little tiny
Either.
The pictures alone give like I'm getting chills from it right now, saying I can see the pictures, and that fall down, you can see the blood on the ring from where he fell down. It was like,
and they said there was a dent in the board in the ring afterwards, and all the wrestlers had to wrestle and know where Owen fell on that night.
Like
the worst. Go ahead, go.
That is, you're saying that is the worst, like scumbag. Sorry, I'm so sorry. How do you have 5 more matches after? How do you continue the whole thing? She said it was a crime scene. Like, why did they then not stop the whole show? The show could have stopped. This is now a crime scene. Someone died. He didn't have an accident. He had an accident, but he was not alive. There was a crime scene. Someone died in this right here, and you didn't stop anything.
It's just really sad, and kind of like it's stunning, but yet not that much surprising that this was WWE's response.
We're gonna stop that right. I'm on it because in 1999, that's surprising. Like right. In 1999, it's like we now to this day, not surprising to us at all. But then, like they had the gall to continue the fucking show. They continued the show. Basically, a man died on impact, and they still had this. They felt they had an obligation to entertain fans. Like somebody,
but in 1999, no. You're saying that because of your perspective on wrestling. Like, we were kids. Like, to a lot of fans that were older than us, they knew about all the scummy and the corruption with WWE. Right. With the Jimmy Snuka and stuff like that. With how they privileged all those territories in the 1980s. Like, people knew about this stuff, but this was yes, I will agree with you on one thing. This is the biggest tragedy of them all, and this was the most like the ace in the hole of all their shitty moves and the stuff that they have done in history.
That's like, something has to be the worst of the worst. Like, somebody literally died in the ring. Somebody died in the ring, and they knew it. Like, this man had to have died on impact. And see the stain still there, and y'all just have entrances. Y'all still take up on this shit. Y'all have these people that have to give this announcement, still call a show. 2,000 of the fans probably has no idea what's happening. Because some people are sitting so far away, they're probably some dangerous part of the show. They're not hearing any updates, so they don't know better. The fans don't know better. But the people that is running and producing the show knows better. Vince McMahon knew better. Kevin Dunn knew better. Like, it's no matter how scummy it is, it's still beyond fucking embarrassing. because they have the inside updates. They have the locker room access. They get the updates, the medical updates on one of their own special talents. This is one of their employees, basically.
They would get the update before anybody. What?
Do you hear that? That's the sound of WWE getting dragged throughout this whole episode. Oh my goodness.
They got dragged through the
season, mud.
This season was them getting dragged. This is what.
None like this episode. Is this the part of the episode where the reporter asked Vince something about did you hear about like the Day of Reckoning or why did you keep doing the show? And Vince was like, I don't like your tone.
Who does he act like? Name the first person when you hear that. Who did he act like?
Donald Trump.
His friend.
Oh shit.
He had the nerve to say, "I resent your tone." We're in a part of grieving, motherfucker. You weren't grieving for shit. You were in the back for the whole 3 hours. You had your employees grieve, but then when you get asked the question, we're grieving.
Once you get word that Owen Hart is dead, stop the show.
Yeah.
The show. That's it.
And I dare a wrestling fan in that building in Kansas City when they announce Owen Hart is dead, the show is over, to kind of argue with that. Like, you either give their money back, you do whatever you gotta do. Like, you take that L for that night when it becomes a crime scene at your wrestling event.
As soon as JR makes that announcement.
Missed it. Yeah. I do have one question.
This is why you have insurance. This is why you have all this stuff as a billion-dollar company for incidents that happen as accidents. This is why you could have stopped the show. You have money to stop and like say, hey, maybe you could have these people come back another day, or you know what? We have to pause this for now.
You take the financial loss. You give everyone who ordered on pay-per-view their money back.
I do have one question if I missed it. I'm sorry if I missed it. I know Jim Ross had the unfortunate responsibility of giving the announcement to the pay-per-view audience. Mm-hmm. Did that on the Titantron to the live audience that was there? Because it doesn't translate. Commentary.
No, I don't think so.
No, they didn't even know anything. They just saw him whirled out the whole arena. So they're still thinking like he's okay.
That means they didn't even announce it to the live crowd.
I mean, they're still popping for everything that happens after.
Exactly.
It's inexplicably embarrassing.
You make that announcement over the microphone. You send everyone home.
Over. The show is over. Like, it's inexplicably embarrassing.
And then, like,
that's why for me, the fans grubbing for the cameras in the far back seats, I can kind of excuse because they're so far back. They don't realize it's real. Like, what a lot of people that were there accounted for was only the first couple of rows, like, really got, like, the gravity of what was happening. Like, everybody.
No, but the fans that were waving were right behind JR and King.
Those ones, yeah. Those ones, okay. Those ones, yeah. But I'm talking about the ones in the far back seat. But what they said was that only the first couple of rows kind of realized what was going on.
Us ribbing the crowd is the least of the concern here. We just bust the crowd's chops. Like that's not the concern here.
The concern is that Vince McMahon is an asshole and a scumbag.
I don't think that's a concern. That's just
it's a fact. Sorry, it's a fact. Sorry, excuse me, wrong choice of word.
It's just a known fact in life. So from there, she basically meets with the Kansas City detective who gives her all the evidence from that night, the blue blazer costume, and then we get to the clip.
Let's talk about this motherfucking clip.
Let's talk about the clip. The clip is the part that everybody is talking about. Not a highlight clip, but yes, there was a clip that was supposed to hold on to Owen Hart, which Martha Hart still owns to this day, which was like a unhook. It was like a loading hook, which unhooked on like 5 pounds.
We're gonna edit a picture of it into the video right now. Look at that shit. Look at that shit. Are you kidding me?
First of all, she tells you that it was used for boats, right? That's the first flag, right? Then she shows you how it unhooks and how small it is, that it's supposed to hold up this. How many pounds was he? What, 2? They said he was like 2 feet.
5 pounds. 5 pounds.
First of all, how is that holding on to this big man? And this rope, there must have been, I don't understand how. And like she said, there's no reason why that person had any reason for doing what he did. He had no business of it. He didn't have any training. He didn't know what he was doing. And it was all their fault. All their fault. You can say, oh, what if this, it happened. And it was
now they hired this guy because he was cheaper.
Yeah,
something like that.
Yes, that's what Martha like accuses them of, is basically
Right.
that they went for like the cheaper guy instead of like the known professional. But that is just like stunning beyond belief. It's negligence. It's the most negligent thing.
The definition of negligence.
Yeah, that picture of that clip needs to be in the dictionary next to the word negligence.
What? Oh my God! Even when they show you the photos from the Kansas City, and they show you the clip of like when it unhooked, and it's like it looks like it's broken almost.
And he said that he had to pull the latch to actually pull it off, and he said that
he didn't pull it off.
He never pulled it. JJ, what's your thoughts?
So they basically harnessed a 240-pound man on a book bag strap.
Yeah. Oh my God. Even better. Book bag strap. That's a good one. That's a good one, friend.
And all they wanted to do for this whole process, so what I saw, all they wanted to do was say 4 to 5 seconds off of his entrance.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to knock off some entrance time so he doesn't look like he's unhooking himself. We know they're human. We know they are incapable of flight. So we know he is coming down off of something. So we're going to put something that is behind him that he has no control over. So this is why WCW did what they did with Sting, is because if he sees something, he could potentially still grab the string and he can hang on by the string. You can't grab onto it if it is behind your neck. You can't do that.
And go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Not for nothing, when you look at the time Sting have come in, it's not like he was like flying over the thing. He came straight down. Like he didn't like go over all the audience and he did one simple thing. He just came down from the rappers straight down. Nothing else we needed to see. It was always dark, so that's another thing, how they tried to hide the thing, but we already knew how he was coming down. But it was just something plain and simple, just to come down, hey, and then that's it.
It's a complete embarrassment of what they were trying to accomplish, and obviously the dumbest idea to this date in the WWE's time, because it's not been tested. They didn't even test it. This theory they didn't even say, yeah, let's try this from maybe 5 feet up. Let's see how this looks. Let's see how this feels on you. Let's just try you from maybe 4 feet in the air. Let's give this an attempt. So the first attempt that he puts this thing on the back of his neck is when he's 95 to 100 feet in the air with no type of rehearsal at all, with no visual evidence of how this works. So you didn't even have the audacity to show this man, this is how it operates. This is how it looks. We're going to put a 200-pound dummy, because they had dummy bags back then, to show how this works, to see what happens. So they took no steps of precaution. They took no steps of care. They did not attempt. All they wanted to do was just provide some entertainment for what? A bathroom filler? Because this match was a bathroom filler. This match had no inkling on the card. This match had nothing on this card. No one even remembered that this match was supposed to happen until this event happened.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a bad idea all the way around. So after Martha got all of her evidence, she wanted to follow through with filing a lawsuit against the WWE for damage for the negligence on the death of Owen Hart. But unfortunately, she felt a lot of pushback backlash against that from not only the WWE side but also the Hart family side.
She's trying to get the Hart family all together on this, and some of the Hart family takes. I guess she made an agreement for the settlement that will split it or something like that.
Yeah, basically what has come out after the lead up to this Dark Side of the Ring is that former WWE lawyer, I forget his first name. I know his last
McDivitt.
name. I know,
Something like
yeah,
that.
his last name is McDivitt. He's Mr. McDivitt. Basically, is the lawyer that was for WWE at the time of this lawsuit, and he has basically come out and accused Martha of coming up with a document which basically offered the settlement money to members of the Hart family to stand with her on trial and against WWE. This is an illegal practice, so the lawyer was vehemently against it, and the Hart family also agree with them, and he stands in the belief that the Hart family is right to be against Martha because he felt that she was trying to make money off of the death of Owen Hart because Vince
Wow.
McMahon went
Wow.
into the settlement talks offering $17 million in settlement payment, and he said that he was remorseful. He felt responsible for the actions that took place, but Martha basically turned it down, wanting the $35 million. Honestly, after seeing this documentary, when I can put one and two together and it equals three, it sounds like to me Martha simply wanted to go take this to trial. She did not want a settlement. So if you offer her $17 million, she's like, no, I want double because we're gonna take this to trial. Like it
She
just
like
like
you didn't they she said herself like I wanted this to go to trial. First of all, he tried to bring the case over to Connecticut, scumbag. Two,
There's a reason
why
for that. I think it was something about that they can't be
they
liable
can't
for like damage
right.
damages.
yeah, they
First of
can't
all,
be
if
liable for damages because the accident didn't take place there. The reason they were trying to have it in Connecticut court is because he's considered an employee there, even though he's an independent contractor. So it just doesn't make any sense.
see, first of all, red flag on the play because you now want to bring something that didn't happen in Connecticut, but you want to now try it here. One, no. Two, you probably know all the judges and all the people in Connecticut, so
In
I
his
don't want
back pocket, probably.
it. In his back pocket, you know all the judges. Your wife is a part of. Yeah, don't call. Don't you don't see stupid on people's forehead. No, stop it. You again red flag on the play. I want to go to trial because you have to be responsible and take responsibility for the actions that you guys did. You are responsible. You hired this company. You wanted this idea of this 3 second like just harness foolishness. No, you have to take responsibility. You are responsible for what happened, even if it was an accident. You made the call. You hired these people. You have to take responsibility. You should have took it to trial, and they could have took accountability for what happened. Going to trial. You just want to settle. Just say, okay, let me just give her this to make her be quiet. And shame on the family, like for not sticking behind her. Like Jim Cornette said, you thought Vince McMahon was going to take care of your family. No, he don't give a shit about y'all. He don't. He'll
and
call
and
y'all when he needs something. That's it.
and this may be scumbag of me, but I wanted to hear names. I wanted to know
I
which
me
Hart family
too.
members were
Call
unsupportive.
them
Was
out.
it Bret
Call
Hart?
them out.
No, that's not scumbag. That's actually factual digging because if my recollection serves me right, and it serves all of y'all, did this not happen after the Montreal screw job?
Yes, it happened after he got his. Oh, Jim Ross said that they hired him only because they gave him the contract.
The Hart family is still feeling that Vince and the WWE is gonna take care of them. Like,
Yeah.
like from what evidence?
Because well, if you listen to Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard, he actually comes out and says that Stu had called Vince many of times after the Montreal screw job. That's the whole reason that Jim the Anvil Neidhart came back after the screw job. It's the whole reason why Bulldog got a job in 1999. Like this is all factual evidence that supports this. So
That's called trying to make up for your fuck up. That's all that is. That is not.
It's not because you're not the one that's initiating it. It's Stu calling him. Like if it was Vince being like, "Hey Stu, does Jim want a job? Or does Davey want a job?" That's him trying to make good on his thing. He is literally just okay. Why not, Stu? I'm looking out for you.
It's
Mind-boggling.
so no. nothing to believe for the Hart family to think that Vince McMahon in the WWF or E was going to be looking out for them.
Yeah, it's sad to say.
Any evidence of letting them know that. And it sucks to see that they lost a brother, they lost a son, they lost a father, they lost this person, and they're not doing everything they can to make things right.
At the end of this whole arrangement, this whole settlement, basically the settlement was more than about $18 million to Owen, and it gave them a little bit of closure. But the damages to the family was already done. The damages and the grief to Owen's kids as well as Martha was already done as well. And it just doesn't seem like the WWE ever went to justice for the negligence in their part in the death of Owen Hart. But it is a good thing that Martha got to talk about it. There also was Martha and Owen's daughter Athena, who pretty much summed it up, her feelings and why she wasn't I was kind of asking the question midway through. I was like, well, they only went to her once, and then they go to her at the end, and it was kind of she didn't really want to take part in this. It felt to me, it just felt like she was just it's a grieving process that the whole family had to take part in, and they kind of made her do it. But she did add to it by saying that she just feels a way about wrestling because it took away her father. She only has really small memories of her father because she lost him
she was 3 years old.
3 years old, lost him at such a young age that she just has this resentment against professional wrestling. She feels like wrestling took her father away from her. We also talk with Jim Cornette, and Jim Cornette says that Owen Hart was more talented than anybody he knows. He should be in 10 Hall of Fames, but the reason that he's not in the WWE Hall of Fame is because Martha Hart does not want to be honored and recognized by the same company that took Owen away from them. And Martha kind of explains, she's like, why would she want to be recognized by a company that was so negligent in the reason why my husband is away from me right now, that is dead. And Ode kind of confirmed it, because a lot of people were under the hope oh, I hope when Martha one day she's away, we can honor Owen with the WWE Hall of Fame. Ode was like, no, I will never let them put it on a plaque and say that they got that. Because WWE would, even if it wasn't in public, they would to themselves. They would they would kind of pat themselves on the back, yes, we're honoring Owen Hart. Yes, we're so big of a company that we're honoring Owen Hart. And Ode kind of put the stomp on that, and he is a lawyer, so he does own the rights to Owen Hart's name. I'm sure he's kind of done his due diligence in that part, and he kind of confirms that it will never happen. And they have the Owen Hart Foundation kind of explaining what they do for single moms like his mom was, and giving kids a home and kind of providing for them. And that's the legacy that his father is going to bring, and that he was much more than a wrestler to them. But how do you guys feel about the whole Owen Hart in the WWE Hall of Fame after seeing this documentary? It's something that is very polarizing to professional wrestling fans, and I feel like this is the Dark Side of the Ring episode that will get the most after talk on social media, and wrestling fans are still gonna have opinions whether pro or con against Martha, against WWE. So, but what are your thoughts on Owen Hart in the WWE Hall of Fame? I'll start with one of our guests, Romeo. Start it off.
She also mentions, remember, it's not even a physical Hall of Fame. It's an imaginary Hall of Fame that exists in our minds. The next time somebody goes in the Hall of Fame and you leave your little comment, well, what about Owen? Shut up.
Please.
You hear from the family, they don't want that. So get over it. It's never going to happen. If it does happen, it'll be years from now when everyone's dead. Vince McMahon's dead. The Hart family's dead. That's the only time it's going to happen.
JJ?
Super proud of the family for not allowing this to happen. I'm super proud of that. And this kind of finally puts that nail in it to say, we're not letting it happen. It ain't going down. So stop talking about it. And one of the yearly WrestleMania program books, where you're on the back of the book where you're inducted, and you're going to have a page on there where you're going to have a slide with your name on it. That's all you're going to get. And a little click link on the website. That's basically what you're gonna get, and then it's gonna be glorified by who? WWE.com.
Mm-hmm.
In WWE shop with a T-shirt.
Yep.
I completely am proud of them for sticking their ground and then getting his name remembered in many other ways of which they saw fit. Because, I mean, they both said it perfectly. Like, they're not going to sit there and let a company glorify themselves for being the ones to celebrate his life and career when they were the dumbasses and the negligent ones that let this happen in the first place.
I think it was very, very well. I mean, we kind of already knew why she didn't want to do it, but hearing the words from her mouth, like JJ said, it gives you the nail. That gives you the closure, saying, you know, why would I want to have him glorified by the same people that let him, you know, go up there and were negligent and didn't want to take accountability for what happened to him, and who tried to also countersue her as well. Shame on you. Shame on you as well. You don't want to celebrate him. You just want to like get that one up and say, "Oh, guys, we did it." No, and you will never get that. Like they said, everyone will probably all die, and that's when they'll finally get it to happen. No, it's not happening. No one. We already know who he was and what he was and how we will remember him. We don't need this imaginary Hall of Fame. Like, you don't have a statue of him in your building in Stanford. You don't have that. You didn't send anything to make sure that they had a college fund. You didn't make sure any of that was happening. You just wanted to like sweep it underneath the rug. So shout out to her for sticking her guns, because some people would have been like, you know, all right, maybe we'll let them, you know, after years and years of asking, maybe we'll you know, we'll say yes. But no, she stuck to her guns and she's been saying no, and she doesn't want him to be glorified there. They don't want you. They want to remember the person of Owen, not the wrestler.
I want to echo what you guys said. Like, I don't need Owen Hart in the WWE Hall of Fame. I was one of those wrestling fans that was like firmly against Martha. I was like, no, Owen should be honored in the WWE Hall of Fame. He should be in the WWE Hall of Fame. Then as the years went by, I kind of like saw that the WWE Hall of Fame did not mean what I thought it meant when I was young. Then I had to do my own research and find out about the Owen Hart, because in my eyes, when I saw it as a kid, I thought it was just an accident. Just something went wrong. I didn't know that there was so much negligence behind this. So before I even saw this documentary, I knew that the WWE had a part in this due to their negligence and not really getting the proper care for Owen for this type of stunt. So, and I also found out about the countersuit and how WWE reacted to Martha suing them. So after knowing all of that, my stance changed. So it is okay if you're a professional wrestling fan who went into this documentary watching this and you were like, I want Owen Hart in the WWE Hall of Fame, and I don't care what Martha says. I don't care how she feels. That's how I feel. That's my fan opinion. You have no right to have that opinion. That's what I will tell you. As someone who shared that opinion, I had no right to have that opinion because I did not walk a day in her shoes. So you should not have that opinion, and you need to look yourself in the mirror and reevaluate your life if you still have it after watching this documentary. So
he's in the People's Hall of Fame. He's in the People Hall of Fame. He
is in the actual Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. He is in the Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame. These are Hall of Fames that are about us, the professional wrestling fans. The WWE Hall of Fame is not about us. So you guys need to stop acting like this is a celebration for us to honor Owen. No, it's not. It's an opportunity for WWE to use his name to line their pockets.
Facts.
So, to finally end off our season 2 reviews of Dark Side of the Ring, I gotta go round table to you guys. We gotta hope and pray that they're coming back for a season 3, but I'm pretty sure with the success of season 2, it's coming back. But I will start off with Miss Chrissy Love for season 3. What is the one story you would like to be told?
I want to hear Bulldog's story. I think I also probably what's more scandalous for us to listen here?
I think British Bulldog's a good answer. British Bulldog's got quite the story. You can learn a lot about his drug use, his death, his connection to the Hart family. So there's a lot to be told right there. I think that's a good answer.
Thank you, friend. Okay.
Romeo, how about you?
Off of the top of my head, I would probably say China.
Ooh,
I
that's a
like
good
it.
one. I like that one too.
I dig it. How about you, JJ?
But then for the China one, I want to hear from Triple H, and we're not gonna get
You're not gonna get that. Nope.
Of course,
Sorry.
if they get Sean Waltman, that's a good consolation prize.
You might as well replace Triple H's face with a WWE logo.
that.
Hell no. I mean,
He wasn't in a relationship with her because he acted like he didn't have anything to do with her.
Also true. JJ?
if there is one out there, shame on me for not knowing about it. But if I had to pick 1A and 1B, for sure, I want to see a Macho Man story.
They did that in season 1 with the Macho Man Elizabeth.
But it was shared though. It wasn't really like more about him.
Well, there's not much. There wasn't. Yeah, they kind of finished it all, so there's not much they could go about that.
But if I
Maybe
did want,
the Ultimate Warrior.
I would want to see a Chris. I want to see a Chris Jericho story.
Okay, that's a good one.
Wait, where's the dark side there?
Yeah, there's no dark side there. That's the only problem.
It's a celebration of Chris Jericho. The light side of the ring.
Light side of the ring. The Chris Jericho story.
And he would be the only one that's narrating it too, right?
Think of one person, one story off the top of my head. It would be Brian Pillman.
Ooh, yep, that's definitely going to be in. Yep, and he's a part of the Hart family too.
Exactly, the Hart family. They can have a whole season's worth of stories coming off of their whole tragic family ups and downs throughout the wrestling business. So, any final remarks or thoughts on season 2 of Dark Side of the Ring for this roundtable? And what was your favorite episode of season 2?
I mean, honestly, I would say my favorite episode was probably the New Jack one.
Uncle New Jack.
Favorite episode because that was a purely entertaining episode. That shit was like gruesome and funny as fuck. The most detailed, obviously, was the Chris Benoit one was phenomenal. This was definitely a really, really telling and detailed season of it. Really, really fantastic documentaries this season. But a lot of these documentaries were not entertaining. A lot of them were just really based on just sharing the facts and getting the stories out there and really just getting a lot of knowledge to us people that have been watching these guys grow up. And it's just so unfortunate with this Owen, man. I wish Owen was around when all of these cats came through, with the Radicals came in with this great talent that just poured into WWE 1 year later. Like, it was so crazy. Owen
versus Eddie.
Oh my God. Been like Owen versus Eddie, Owen versus Angle, Owen versus Edge.
Yeah, man. Like, that's one I can see, definitely.
And like, he was just around with the wrong crop of talent. And it was just so like, man, we did Dark Side of the Ring did a hell of a job at revisiting some really unfortunate things, but with very compelling stories.
Great season. I love this show. I love learning about the things I didn't know about, like the UWF and Dr. D. My favorite episode was probably the Benoit episode because it felt like the Benoit / Eddie Guerrero episode also. And final thoughts on the Owen episode. We missed out on the career resurgence of Owen Hart. We would have seen so much more from him. After this episode aired, I was like, I felt like an empty feeling of like, I wish we could have heard from more of the Hart family.
Same.
But on the other side of that, this was Martha's story to tell. This was Oja's story to tell. This was Athena's story to tell. On second thought, we didn't need to hear from the rest of the Harts. They deserved their platform to tell their story about her husband and their father.
Very happy that they did, for sure.
Yeah.
How about you, Chrissy?
Great season. I learned a lot, like the New Jack. What's the FWU or whatever it was called? What was it again?
UWF.
UWF, that was a great story. This season was very, very well put together. My favorite was the Benoit / Eddie Guerrero story. I wish that Owen was a two-parter. I felt like it was like crumbled in. I felt like it was kind of rushed, but still good. It's gonna get the number 2 slot for me, but Benoit will get number 1. I do wish that it should have been a two-parter because it was just so much information that was all poured into us. And just like how they did the Benoit one where they did the first part of his life, and then they did the whole with the crime and everything. I think it could have been better if it was 2 parts. But yes, I wanted to hear from the Hart family, but we didn't really need them because it was not their story to tell. They probably would have just told memories about their brother and their It's better that Martha and the children basically told their story and their version of what happened, and it was well put together. Bravo to Vice. Can't wait for season 3. I know there's season 3 coming.
Absolutely agree with you guys. Season 2, I think, exceeded expectations from a very impressive season 1. I'm very much looking forward to season 3. My final thoughts on the Owen Hart episode is if there was any episode of the season that deserved 2 parts, it was definitely this one. If it was 2 parts, this would have been my favorite episode of the entire season. You really hear the side of the story that you never got told. You kind of saw before your eyes the WWE side of the story. You can kind of formulate from there the Hart family side of the story because Bret Hart's had the opportunity to speak about it on his documentary and stuff like that. So, you could kind of see their perspective. But this was our first time kind of hearing from Martha and the kids. So I was very happy that they got this platform and opportunities to celebrate their husband and father. And now the fans can celebrate that by actually purchasing their t-shirt. It's on Pro Wrestling Tees. There's actually Owen Hart merchandise for the first time in over 20 years.
Yes.
So you have the opportunity to celebrate Owen Hart. So even though you
proceeds go to the Owen Hart Foundation.
Exactly. Yep. It goes to a good cause, so at the end of the day, you get to celebrate, but it still gives to an honorable cause. So it's a great time to be an Owen Hart fan. But my favorite episode was definitely the Chris Benoit episode. The one that I will probably remember the most or talk about the most years from now is probably the New Jack episode, if I can agree with JJ on one part. But the Chris Benoit episode is just so well done. It definitely deserves some type of awards for how well they told that story from every side of it, from beginning to end of Chris Benoit's career and the death and the murder and everything that went on there. So season 2 wrap up for Dark Side of the Ring. We are ready for season 3. I want to thank the connoisseur of all reporting, Mr. Romeo Anthony Colon.
Woo! In Owen Hart fashion. The king of hearts. I'm not a nugget.
I'm a black heart, damn it. A winner. A soul survivor. Woo!
The better brother.
Oh,
okay, relax.
All right.
Don't get mad at my opinion. I didn't say anything about yours.
Also, for the resident True Hill alcoholic himself, Mr. Top Guy JJ.
Chrissy is very bitter towards Bret Hart for some reason.
Wow.
But, we're going to leave that be. In a blast. She just cannot. The best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. Go. Never.
She can't handle it. And for our final season 2 finale review for Dark Side of the Ring, the princess of all the True Hills, Miss Chrissy Love.
Thank you so much. Haters were gonna hate. Doesn't matter. I don't care. I'm gonna say and feel the way I feel. Thank you. Whatever. But yes, I can't wait for the next season. And you know what? Hey, see you around.
You guys were doing season 1 reviews, right?
Absolutely. So
you should get JJ for the Macho Man episode.
Well, yeah, definitely. You need to watch it for sure. So We thank you all for watching our season 2 Dark Side of the Ring reviews. You guys been giving us such great feedback, giving us a lot of views. I want you guys to attack the like button on this one. Make sure this is the most liked of all our season 2 Dark Side of the Ring reviews. So we are come back strong as we go back in time for true rewind Dark Side of the Ring. As we go back to season 1, me and Chrissy Love and possibly Top Guy JJ will join us for the Macho Man episode for sure. As we review all of season 1. And as well, I want to make this announcement as well. Miss Chrissy Love, I didn't even tell her, so I'm just thinking of it right now. We're also going to be reviewing Beyond the Mat. The wrestling documentary is up on Netflix, one of the best wrestling documentaries that's ever been made. Beyond the Mat, we're also going to be reviewing that, so definitely stay tuned for that. Push the like button below, put your comments down below on the entire season 2 Dark Side of the Ring and where the Owen Hart episode ranks, and of course push the subscribe button and the bell to stay notified for more True Hill Heat. So for everyone, we are signing off. Until next time.